Can you imagine getting ready to move into a new house only to find out the day before you're supposed to close that you're not closing? Hey everybody, some states rely on attorneys for closing a real estate transaction, but here in California where I live, we use escrow companies. An escrow company acts as a neutral third party in a real estate transaction to protect both the buyer and the seller. So essentially, they hold all the funds and documents until all conditions of the contract are met, ensuring that the buyer receives the property, any mortgage company gets paid, and the seller receives their payment. So here in California, we also rely on title insurance companies. Now, title verifies that the home seller has the legal right to sell the property to a buyer. And as a buyer, you want to ensure that there are no liens, mechanic liens, tax liens, judgments, HOA, or any other liens on a property before you take title. A title company can issue a policy called title insurance, and that protects homeowners and mortgage lenders from conflicts like title claims that can arise from the previous property owner. In California, the choice of title and escrow companies is negotiable between the buyer and the seller. Traditionally, it's the seller that selects the escrow company, especially here in Southern California where I'm located. With that said, if a buyer submits an offer and requests a specific escrow company, the seller can either agree or counter with their preferred company. Now, I'll tell you, as a listing agent, I find the escrow company incredibly important during a real estate transaction. Buyers and sellers don't typically realize that a bad escrow company can ruin your experience. The escrow company is the hub of the transaction. They're the ones that bring everybody together. Now, imagine purchasing a home and you have a question. Your realtor says, that's really something you should reach out to the escrow company about. So you call escrow, they don't answer your phone. You leave them a message, you don't hear back. You send an email to them, they're not answering your emails. You want an escrow company with a strong team, one that communicates in a timely, effective fashion. Now, I'll tell you, there are dozens, if not hundreds of escrow companies in the part of Los Angeles that I live in. That means there are a lot of companies to choose from. And this is not an area to choose a discount company or someone with a free offer, because free can be costly. When companies discount, they need to make that up with quantity. And if they're dealing with a large number of transactions, being involved in every detail can be a problem. Now, I'm more of a listing agent, and I say that because the majority of my transactions are representing sellers. But I see a lot of transactions, and I know what makes a good escrow company. And I know an escrow company that, well, let's just say I wouldn't recommend. I was recently involved in a sale that had a 30-day escrow. Well, it was supposed to be a 30-day escrow. The buyers, got their offer accepted. They wired their earnest money deposit to escrow, which according to the agreement needed to be received within 3 days. Okay, they got their wire in, all that went well. Then the buyers got all their inspections done. They negotiated some repair requests and got a $10,000 credit from the sellers in lieu of repairs. Then about 26 days into this escrow, the buyers signed their loan documents. We're right on time. And then 2 days before we're scheduled to close, we got word from the sellers that they couldn't close because they had to bring in over $30,000 to close. The sellers. Let me tell you this. The escrow company that I prefer to work with wouldn't let this happen. And I'll tell you, I work with Jen and her team at Escrow Advantage. In this case, what happened was that the sellers hadn't been paying their mortgage. So they were accruing additional interest on the loan. Unbelievable. And I'll tell you that you don't accrue $30,000 in interest over a 30-day escrow. Now I know Jen's team at Escrow Advantage orders loan payoff information very early in an escrow. So if there are issues, there's time to resolve the issues. Now, it'll most likely mean additional work, and it may mean additional negotiation. But to come down to closing and have the seller tell the buyer that they can't close because they don't have the money, that just doesn't work. At this stage of the game, the seller is contractually obligated at this point to close the sale. And I say this as a realtor, not as an attorney, so please don't take this as legal advice. But Here are the buyers buying their first home. They give notice to their landlord. They're excited and expecting to move into their new house in 2 days, only to find out they're not moving. Okay, in this example, there were several things that went wrong, but by using a quality escrow company, something like this can be avoided. Sellers are very savvy these days, and they're looking to maximize on the sale of their real estate, but be sure you're not saving pennies to lose dollars, thousands of dollars. As I mentioned, here in California, the seller usually chooses escrow, especially in Southern California. In Northern California, it's more towards the buyers choosing escrow, but it's negotiable. It's in the contract, and both parties must ultimately agree. As a trusted real estate advisor, I always recommend choosing a reputable, experienced escrow company that communicates well and understands the nuances of the local market. It can make a huge difference in how smoothly a transaction goes. And I'll tell you, title is important too. I was recently involved in a transaction where there were 3 sellers. It was a mother, her son, and the daughter-in-law. Everything was going swimmingly until, on the day the transaction was scheduled to close, I got a call telling me, hey, the son and daughter-in-law had changed title and they have put themselves into a trust. Hey, being in a trust for real estate is great. We'll talk about that in another video. Except the issue here is when they put themselves in a trust, it severed the joint tenancy with the mother. So now, right at closing, we have a blemish on title. The stories we can tell, boy. So in this situation, title should have identified the issue much earlier. But thankfully, we had escrow with Jen and her team, and because they are solution-oriented, they were able to work with the buyers, ask the right questions, and ultimately, they recorded 2 documents that day. One that reserved the title blemish, and the other one that closed the transaction. So as you can see, who you work with matters. It's important to work with a local escrow company, one who reviews the process with all parties up front. They understand and work with the local HOAs and can help lenders with the nuances of the local neighborhoods. You know, up here where I am in Los Angeles, there's a lot of single-family homes that are actually on title as condos. And if the lenders don't understand that, it can jeopardize a loan and the closing of a sale. Now, as a listing agent, I hope that all listing agents really make sure that the buyers understand that. But when you're working with an escrow officer that understands and communicates well, they'll be sure the lender knows this right away. And that's why I really believe it's vitally important to work with a local escrow company. And on that note, you want to use a reputable local lender as well. One that's a full-time lender, not a part-time lender and a part-time realtor, because you want an expert in the field. I hope you're finding this information helpful, and if you are, please help me reach out to other people by liking and subscribing to my channel. I really want to help as many people as I can. Look, I know most people who go to sell or buy a home don't even think about escrow or title, but that's why you have to work with a knowledgeable full-time agent. Someone who not only has relationships with title and escrow companies, but other vendors who can support and be very helpful in a real estate transaction. Hey, I'm Larry Fleischman. I'm a real estate broker here in Los Angeles County, California. And if you're looking to buy or sell a house anywhere in my area, my team and I would love to help you. If you're looking to buy or sell a house anywhere in the US or Canada, I've got plenty of people that I know who do a fantastic job. So just send me an email, send a text, give me a phone call. I'll be happy to give you a referral. Thanks again for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. And remember, for all things real estate, sell or buy, Larry's your guy.